It's the summer of 2021. Aston Villa have announced the signing of Leon Bailey from Bayer Leverkusen, touted to be a fee between roughly 30 to 40 million pounds. The pacey, left-footed right winger from Bayer Leverkusen was expected to set the Premier League alight in claret and blue. Dean Smith was very excited by the addition to his Premier League team, and it looked to be a side that was ready to pretty much attack the Premier League with the full force it could. It's now been nearly 3 years since that signing, a roller coaster of a time, I think, so to speak. And Leon Bailey has just signed a contract extension under Unai Emery, his third manager in 3 years. This was probably a story of nothing but the pure essence of patience. And I believe it's a key story we can link to one Moussa Diaby, and probably one that we can link towards many other Premier League players that come from different leagues and aren't really given the time, patience, or support that they deserve. This is Leon Bailey, Moussa Diaby, and the art of being patient. Starting off this video, I just want to run through Leon Bailey's time at Aston Villa so far. It's been nearly 3 years, will have been in August. Leon Bailey has had a weird 3 years, so to speak. Probably not one that anyone would have expected, no less himself. A man who was not known for injury problems, started his career at Aston Villa with a thigh injury that kept him out for around 67 days, about 13 football matches. It saw him have a 21-22 season where he only had 18 appearances, 7 starts, 11 substitutions, 1 goal, 2 assists, and 3 yellow cards. I'll be honest, yellow cards was only put in there because I thought it was cooler. 1 + 2 = 3. I did put it in for the 22-23 season. I didn't put it in for this season. I don't know why. It just looked quite cool to me. It doesn't really mean anything. I think, to be fair, I don't think a lot of people are really judging Leon Bailey off that first year completely. Obviously, there would have been some. But when you have an injury season like that, as well as it being not a very successful year for us, it was almost one that you probably expect to see a side where Leon Bailey was then given the second year, perhaps to really set the league alight and probably expected to settle in. And he did kinda. Now, Leon Bailey was in an unfortunate position. He was under Dean Smith's rule, which featured out, and then Steven Gerrard's rule, a season that started quite well, and then it became Steven Gerrard's rule. So again, it came to midway through 22-23 season. He's changed manager for the third time. He's got Unai Emery, a stalwart in the Conference League, sorry, the Europa League, not the Conference League. Well, not until this season. And it was a Aston Villa side that looked well on an upwards trajectory right from the get-go. But Leon Bailey wasn't exactly setting the team alight. 26 starts, 7 substitutions throughout that season. 4 goals, 4 assists, and 4 yellow cards. Again, pretty cool how it's all fours. But it wasn't exactly a performance and a season that would set you alight and set you apart from that squad. No one really looked at Leon Bailey and that team and said, he's the reason we achieved the position we did. Now, I myself, and I think quite a few other Villa fans, were probably expecting to see Leon Bailey as one touted to be leaving the club last summer. I would have been shocked, but not surprised, in a way that it's shocking whenever you see a high-profile signing leave after a successful season, but not surprised at the idea that we needed more forward attacking intent, and Leon Bailey wasn't really offering that at the time. Then Moussa Diaby was announced, and that was a shock. As my co-host James, I think we were all very surprised what a signing that was touted to be. It was again a right winger from Bayer Leverkusen, left-footed, pacey, just a real exciting attacking addition to Unai Emery's Arsenal. And it sort of made us think, well, where does Leon Bailey sit now? There were some that probably saw the light, and fair play to them if they did, that this was probably going to bolster Leon Bailey's sort of appearances for Aston Villa. And it did. We saw instantly the arrival of Moussa Diaby did not deter Leon Bailey, but instead emboldened him through this Aston Villa side. A disappointing first game where he actually started just off the right, where obviously we lost 5-1. Moussa Diaby scored that fantastic goal. It was probably where we saw perhaps inklings that Leon Bailey wasn't exactly going to be the man this year. We were wrong, but I mean, Moussa Diaby scores that outrageous goal. Leon Bailey doesn't have the greatest performance, and you're starting to think, well, it's the natural changing of the guard. What comes next? Leon Bailey sets the world alight against Everton, a goal and an assist, an outstanding performance off the bench, no less, which goes on to really signify what Leon Bailey was to become this season. As of right now, 12th of February 2024, he's just signed his contract extension. He's sitting on 7 goals, 6 assists, roughly. And that's just counting Premier League games, of course. But it's not just that, his performances have been excellent, and the game really does change whenever Leon Bailey is on the pitch. The reason why I'm focusing on Leon Bailey so much right now is because, well, he deserves it. He came under a lot of attack from a lot of Villa fans. Perhaps rightly so. He wasn't exactly performing in the way that was expected of a player of his excellence, of his ability. He wasn't taking players on, ineffective in the final third throughout that 22-23 season. Arguably useless on his right foot, known to cut in on his left, easy to read. That's just the way a lot of Villa fans and a lot of football fans generally saw the man. But what came from that was the birth of a new enemy for the Premier League, an emboldened Leon Bailey, ready to attack down the right, shifting to his right, shifting to his left, making clever passes. In fact, just now, this is completely, I haven't even thought about scripting this in, but it's just come into my head. Against Manchester United yesterday, he takes the ball off the right, runs through, and whilst 3 Manchester United defenders are in front of him, picks out the perfect pass for Jacob Ramsey, who just doesn't get his feet right, and it probably would have set us on a very good trajectory to win that game. Of course, who knows what else happens, but Leon Bailey was never at fault for that loss against Manchester United, and it's hard to pick out a game where he's been poor to an extent where he's been ineffective. He's always looked to be our most useful asset up top, aside from Ollie Watkins. In a season where John McGinn has been exciting up there, Jacob Ramsey's been riddled with injuries and hasn't set the world alight. Nicolo Zaniolo hasn't come in and exactly done what Emi Buendia was expected to be while he's out with his ACL injury. And Moussa Diaby wasn't doing it over the course of October, November, December. Leon Bailey has really been the stalwart of that Aston Villa attack to embolden Ollie Watkins and enlighten the Premier League. Now, his substitutions and his starts have equally been impressive. The man has 22 appearances this season, literally split 11 subs, 11 starts. I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that Leon Bailey has had a lot of personal growth as well. He's not exactly one to sort of lose the ball. I personally believe that in the first 2 seasons, he lost the ball and he sort of stopped a lot and sort of lost a lot of faith in himself. It's probably something we can come on to in a bit when linking it to a certain other right winger, left-footed player for Aston Villa. But this season, he loses the ball very rarely. And when he does, he's chasing the ball back down. He's defending a lot better this year as well, which has been necessary for Ezri Konsa and Matty Cash down that right-hand side. They needed him there, and he's been doing it. I think he's a player that's really been boosted by the fact that he has a clear set role in this team now. He's not expected to be off the striker. He is pretty much always set down that right wing to create. He's not running off, doing the Yuri Tielemans, Nicolo Zaniolo, sometimes John McGinn role. He has his free reign on that right-hand side, and it's no less than what he deserves. Leon Bailey is a football player that fills a lot of people with excitement right now. It's one that we're all thrilled to see him come on and sign the contract he has. I'll be very upset if I see him leave the club. And I think he is a real good case study for not just Aston Villa Football Club, but for the entire Premier League on the art of being patient. And with that comes Moussa Diaby. Moussa Diaby, signed by Aston Villa for roughly £47 million, a right winger, left-footed from Bayer Leverkusen, with pace, the ability to beat a man, and a great finish on him, was touted to expose the Premier League as being his playground. It was such an exciting signing. It's probably the most excited I've been for a Villa signing ever, I'd say. It was a well-known name. It established us as a European club ready to fight against the big boys. And he comes in, scores that fantastic goal against Newcastle. It goes well, and then it doesn't. It's slowed down a lot. There's no arguing that. Moussa Diaby is a player that thrives off having the ball, the ability to beat a man, and he clearly thrives off confidence. Call it growth, call it maturity, blind faith maybe, but I refuse to rule out Moussa Diaby as a Premier League football player, and especially one for Aston Villa Football Club. Of course, right now we're punching above our weight. Top four, definitely not really in the eye lines this season, as well as entering into the last 16 of the UEFA Conference League. Moussa Diaby was always seen as a player that could grow around this squad and push that attacking force forwards and help us fight. And yet, just because he's had the 4 goals and 4 assists this season, we're sort of looking at him as if almost he's a failure somehow. I have actually seen quotes from Villa fans, albeit on Twitter, stating that Diaby is a waste of time. He's shit, and we need to bid him off. It amazes me that people do not see the irony in this. He is exactly the same profile of footballer as Leon Bailey. His so far bad season is better than Leon Bailey's first 2 seasons, albeit one was hampered by injury. Moussa Diaby did have his small injury worries throughout October, and then since then it seemed his confidence was knocked. I think it probably doesn't help him playing without Leon Bailey. He's definitely looked a lot better whenever Leon's been on that side with him. And he's definitely a player that, although has the ability to create fantastic opportunities, is so eager to force the pass to Ollie Watkins at times that he forgets the ability he has in that wonder of a left foot of his. He's shown it, and he will show it. I just don't understand this idea that you can praise Leon Bailey and then smack down Moussa Diaby's ability in one sentence. You can criticize his performances, don't get me wrong. I completely agree with that. But to say that he's not going to achieve the heights of Leon Bailey, it's ludicrous to me. And I'm sorry, but I personally believe that you lose a lot of credibility as a football fan if you refuse to admit to the fact that Moussa Diaby is a fantastic footballer, just not adapting correctly right now. I think if you really want to pay attention to football, then you listen to the master. That master being, of course, Unai Emery. Now, when Mr. Emery speaks, as mentioned, you listen. Unai Emery's made it very clear. Through the Birmingham Mail was a quote announced around the start of February where he states, and I'll read it clear now, that Diaby's behaviour is fantastic. And while his performances haven't been consistent, I, Unai Emery, can understand because he's in the process of understanding everything. And Unai Emery's side is not linear. It's not a side where we adapt the same play every single game and you either get it straight away or you don't and you're gone. I challenge any football player to come into Aston Villa Football Club, start their first game and go on for 38 Premier League games, FA Cup matches, League Cup matches and European matches and be world class every single game. He has not been the only player in these past 3 months to have had a lull in performances. But it doesn't mean that he's not providing. A lot of what Moussa Diaby has done and does do goes under the radar because it statistically isn't coming through. There's been a lot of games where we focused our play down the left, which means that a lot of the time Moussa Diaby's touches and runs through on the right are sort of feigned ghost runs. Or because the pressure's been placed down the left so heavily, the second it goes to the right, we haven't moved over well enough. Passes the ball backwards to Ezri Konsa or Matty Cash, side foot back inwards, and we transition back over to the left-hand side. And yet people would say to me, he was useless. He was a mystery that game. But then we'll see Leon Bailey get substituted on for a Yuri Tielemans, so to speak, or a Jacob Ramsey. And then you'll see both of them operating off the right-hand side. Diaby much more forward, much more central, and it's much better. And I think, in all honesty, that game against Manchester United is completely different if Leon Bailey isn't substituted off. But because Moussa Diaby is substituted on, I think the two of them, when they combine, is brilliant. And there was 2, maybe 3 moves I saw where Diaby got the ball in the box, played the ball across, or was given it in an area where he was able to do something. And while his finish wasn't there, or his touches might have been a bit erratic, the clear quality is obvious. I just don't understand how you can sort of write off a player this eagerly and not understand the art of being patient. Moussa Diaby is a fantastic footballer, as is Leon Bailey, and the two of them have a very bright future here at Aston Villa Football Club. I think that a lot of Premier League fans, a lot of football fans, a lot of Aston Villa fans, they want instant success. And trust me, I'm no stranger to the idea that if you want to compete with the very best, you need to be doing the very best. But Aston Villa isn't in a position right now to win a Premier League trophy. Are they in a position to challenge for Europe? Yes. Are they in a position to challenge for European trophy? Yes. Is Moussa Diaby, is Leon Bailey in a position to help Aston Villa do that? Yes. I put out a poll recently earlier today. It was probably a bit inflammatory in the wording, and obviously with this video coming out now, it would probably make sense as to why. I asked, will Diaby come good? Now, 13% voted for undecided. Roughly 8 to 9% voted for no, which left around 77 to 78% voting yes. The comments were very supportive of Moussa Diaby, understanding of the inflammatory nature of my tweet, as well as being very open with the fact that using, as I have, Leon Bailey as a case study, showcases that Moussa Diaby will probably take time, patience, and a lot of hard work to get to the level that he will need to be at. But there's no doubting his ability. Now, mine are a couple of tweets that just said he was useless or unable to provide for the Premier League for Aston Villa. I think that what this shows is that football fans are definitely growing, and along with Leon Bailey, along with Moussa Diaby, you've got the likes of Nicolo Zaniolo. You've got other players, Rasmus Højlund, the first one that comes to my mind at Manchester United Football Club. You have these players that come from other nations, that come from other leagues and adapt, albeit some quicker than others, albeit some with much better players around them that can enable them to get to the high levels needed. Moussa Diaby is suffering at the moment from a lack of confidence and a team that at the moment is going through a quote unquote lull. I want to thank you all for watching this because it's a new style of video from AVFC Faithful, the podcast itself, myself, Dan. It's one that I'm looking forward to making many more of, and I'd like to hear your feedback on all of it. This was Leon Bailey, Moussa Diaby, The Art of Being Patient. It's a new style of video, as mentioned. If you did enjoy it, please like the video, subscribe for more, hit the notifications bell so you never miss another upload. And until next time, up the Villa.